Hey guys, this is Alex, the Solve It All Cuber, and today we are going to be solving the Gear Cube Extreme. Now, don't be deceived, this is nothing like the original Gear Cube. This is way harder, so if you don't like solving something that has some difficulty to it, then I wouldn't recommend this one. I'd recommend getting the regular Gear Cube. But the Gear Cube Extreme is fun and is very unique. It's not like any other cube I've solved before. So let's get right into it.
So first, let's just establish how this is different from the regular Gear Cube. So as you can see here, the Gear Cube has these gears that twist on every single side, no matter which way you do it, which means that every move that you do has to be in twos, because if you only move it one, then it's in the middle, so you have to move it twice. So the difference is that the Gear Cube Extreme has two layers that have those gears on them, but there's one layer that does not, and that's this one, which means that you can actually turn it one, and it's actually okay, and you can continue going. So this complicates the whole solve, because it can be scrambled much further than the regular cube can. So this cube is a lot harder to solve, but it's also very fun, I think. So let's just go over the basic steps. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get this ring right here solved. And then once we've done that, we're going to get the top corners and then the bottom corners. And then we're going to get the top gears into place and the bottom gears into place. We're going to put them in the right position, and then we're going to make it look like a cube again. So it's kind of simple, but some of the steps are a little bit difficult. So let's go ahead and scramble it. Okay, so once it's pretty sufficiently scrambled, we're going to look at this center ring right here first. So we just want this one ring to be correct, right? And so how we're going to do this is we're going to get one piece into its rightful place, right? So here we see that we have a red with a red, but the blue is next to the orange rather than the blue, which is actually down here. So what we're going to do, remember that when you turn this with the gears, two moves of the left side moves the center down once. So if we move this down once and then twice, now it's matched up with the blue, see? And so we have red, red, blue. And you'll see that that automatically did the other side here, actually. And this time we have the whole ring solved. But really, any way that you start with that ring being messed up, it really can't be all that bad. Basically, all you have to do, so let's look for, okay, here's green and yellow, right? So the green is right here. So we know that if we turn this up over twice, it'll be right next to it, right? So now it's next to it. And now we want to get the yellow with the yellow, which is right here. So we're going to move it towards that. And now that we've done that, the rest is automatically solved. Really, it's not that hard to do this step. It's pretty simple. So the next step is to get the four corners on top. Now, either side can be top, but for some reason I like to start with purple, so we'll do that. So what you want to do here is you want to get two pairs, and you have to be thinking about this center row during this step. So first you want to look for a pair, and if you can't find one, then you just make one. Now down here you see that we actually already have a pair of purple, and you have to make sure that they're correct there as well, that it's not just two purples next to each other. So we're going to rotate it into the top layer. But we've messed up this middle ring, right? So we're going to rotate it out of the way, and then we're going to rotate this side back down. If you know how to solve the 4x4, that will be very familiar to you. Every time that you move something up, you move it out of the way and move this back down to preserve the ring in the center. So now we see that we have this piece, right? And down at the bottom we have one other piece. So the way to get these two paired up so you can match them next to this is a little weird. You actually want to have a piece in the top that is not correct. Now this one is, because you see the greens match up. So all we do to fix that is rotate it down. And now once it's down here, we want to rotate it back up, but we want it to be, instead of there, we want it to be here. So that piece corresponds with that slot right there. So we put it into that spot and rotate it up. Now see, we have this piece in the top layer, but it's incorrect. So this piece down here, when we rotate this down, it will be in this position. So we want this piece to be next to that. So we're going to rotate that right there, okay? And now it's in position, so we can rotate this down, and you can see that they're matched up. And now we have to rotate this back up, so we can go ahead and put them into the spot that's going back up right there, and then let it go up. So once you've done that, all you have to do is match up the colors to where they go, and we have the four corners on top solved. So now it's time to do the corners on the bottom. And this is really simple. Essentially, it's basically like solving the top corners of the 3x3 where you just have to flip two of them. That's all that this algorithm does, except it flips these two. So it's the bottom front that it flips. So we want to look and see if we have any pairs that are correct. And that one right there is, okay? So we're going to rotate that to where it goes. And the opposite pair we're going to hold towards us at the bottom, because that's where they're going to flip. And that'll solve it. Now, if you don't have any pairs at all, just do the algorithm once, and then you should have a pair, and then you can do it a second time. So make sure that you have the correct ones facing the back, and it's on the bottom. And here's the algorithm. R2, U, D prime, R2 prime, D, R2, U prime, R2 prime, U, R2, U prime, R2 prime. Now that's a pretty long algorithm, but it's just something you have to memorize. And so now we see that we've flipped these and they're correct. Now we do have to actually line up the colors again, but now we've got it. So that's how you do the bottom corners, and that's all there is to it. That's all that can happen with those. So this step, we were wanting to get all of the purple edges into the up with the purple, and all of the orange ones down in the orange. Now it doesn't matter if they're in the actual correct position as long as they're on the right side. So basically what this algorithm that I'm going to show you does is it swaps this piece with this piece. So it's the front top with the bottom right. So what we want to do is we want to line up a piece that doesn't have purple in it in the front, like this one, and a piece that does have purple in it here. And this one doesn't, so let's just turn this. Don't worry about messing it up, it's okay, until we have a purple one like this. So we have purple in the bottom right, we have non-purple in the top front, and we do this algorithm. R2, U, R2 prime, U prime. But you have to do it 5 times. Yeah, it's just that same thing, and you just do it 5 times. So R2, U, R2 prime, U prime. 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 And you see that we've put that purple piece up here, and we've put, well, when we fix this up, we put a non-purple down here. So there's only one more purple left in the bottom. So let's orient that on the bottom right. And here on top, we have the piece that does not have purple in it. So we'll just do that same thing again, and that'll swap the two up, okay? So R2U, R2 prime, U prime, R2U, R2 prime, U prime. You just keep doing that 5 times. And we've got it fixed. So now we see that we have a purple on all of the upper sides, and we have an orange on all of the lower edges. And that's all there is to that step, is just swapping this piece and that piece until you've got all the pieces. And that's pretty easy as well. Now this is where it gets a little bit weird. So now we have to get these edges into their correct position. Now it doesn't matter if they're like this or if they're like this, as long as they're where they need to be. So this purple red needs to be across from it in the purple red. So there's 2 algorithms for this step. One of them swaps these top 2 and these bottom 2, and then one of them swaps these 2 that are next to each other and then these 2 down here. So basically what I like to do is just solve one side and then see what needs to be done to the other side. So we see that this purple and red needs to go across, and this purple yellow needs to go across. And same with the purple blue and the purple green. So we're going to do the across algorithm twice, and you don't even really need to worry about this down here. So first let's look at the parallel swap algorithm, and it's very simple. It's R4, okay, so that's one all the way around 360, U2, R4, U2. That's all there is to it. It's just all the way around U2, all the way around U2. And that swaps these 2 and these 2. So now that the purple red and the purple yellow are in place, we are going to turn it like this. And so now we can switch these 2 that need to be switched. So let's go ahead and do the algorithm again. So that's R4, U2, R4, U2. Okay, so once all of the pieces on the top are in their right positions, we have to look at the bottom ones. And so basically we just want to see what has to be done here that will fix the bottom, and hopefully there's a way to make it put the top back in place as well. If there's not, you can just kind of keep going. It's not going to work on the first try every time, so you can kind of just go back and forth until you get lucky. It's a pretty tedious operation. It's not really something that I can just give you like the ultimate secret for. But the orange-blue is in its place. So red needs to go here, this needs to go across, and this needs to go there. So the way we can solve that is if we flip these two, then that will put this in its place, and then that will be over here, and then we can flip these two, and that will solve this bottom. Now that will actually mess up the top part, but we'll just go from there. It's okay. So we're going to start by flipping these. So we hold it like this, and we do our R4, U2, R4, U2. There you go. And so now what's going to happen is we have to flip these two right here. And this is the other algorithm. So what happens with this algorithm is it flips these two right here, and it flips these two right here. So it's the top front right and the bottom front left. So that will fix this, and we're not going to worry about what's going to happen here, because in this case it's just going to be messed up, and we're just going to have to go back to the top. It's okay though. So we're going to do this algorithm: R2, D, R2 prime, R4, U2, R4, U2, R2, D prime, R2 prime. Now I know at that one spot it kind of overlaps where you go R2 prime and then R4, but that's to show you that you're doing our original flip edges in the middle of that algorithm, just to kind of make it easier to remember. So now all of these are in the correct position, and we messed up the top again. So we actually have the same situation as we did last time. So if you've done the top and the bottom and you're still in a situation where there's two different things that need to be done and you know it's going to mess it up again, don't just keep doing it in a loop. You have to actually think through how you can preserve both at the same time. So what we're going to do here is we want to set it up to where they're all across from each other and this side is still solved, right? Because that way, if you do an across, that will flip these two, right? And then you can twist it like this, do across again, and it will flip those back to where they were. So you want to do it once to make it wrong, and then again to make it right. That will actually solve this. So to set that up, what we can do actually is we can do the side-by-side flip with the blue-purple right there, and then we can side-by-side flip these two. And that will end up where the blue-purple is across from it, because it's going to go here and then there. This is already across from it. This one's going to be here, which is across from that, and that will be there, which is across from it. So everything will be across from where it needs to be, and from there we can actually solve it. And because we're doing two side-by-sides, we can mess this up and then put it back, and you'll see what I mean here in a second. So the first thing we're flipping is these two right here. So we can go ahead and do our algorithm: R2, D, R2 prime, R4, U2, oops, R4, U2, R2, D prime, R2 prime. And that's flipped these two right here, and it's flipped these two. So if we keep this in the same position and do an algorithm again, except this time we're going to flip these two, we want to turn those right here so that we are actually going to flip these that were messed up back into their places, so the bottom will still be solved. So we have these two in place that need to be switched, and let's do it again. R2, D, R2 prime, R4, U2, R4, U2, R2, D prime, R2 prime. And now if we put this back in place, we see that every one of these pieces is across from where they need to be, whereas all of these pieces are still correct. And so this way we can do kind of like what we just did, where we will switch these two and turn it like this and switch these two, and that way we'll flip these and flip them back. So let's start with these two, and since this is the parallel, this is the easy one. This is R4, U2, R4, U2, okay? And we're just going to simply keep this in place so it'll fix it back. We're going to rotate this to the side and do it again. R4, U2, R4, U2. And we can go ahead and put this back to where it was supposed to go. And we see here that these are all in their correct positions, and these are all in their correct positions. So that is a pretty tricky step, but if you just do a little thinking, you can get through it. It's really not all that horrible. So on to, this is the final step. So the last step is to make these to where they're actually oriented correctly. And this is probably the most complicated step, I'm sorry to tell you, but this is not like the gear cube where you just turn it 8 times and it makes them right again. You can actually turn it 8 times, and that is where it turns all of these in one like ring. But in this case, because of the way that it's scrambled, we don't have where each ring is all solved or all unsolved. It's all mixed and matched. So there's a different algorithm that you have to learn. But I need to talk to you about these gears. So basically, we are going to be setting up, there's 2 versions of the algorithm. And the difference is, for one, you use it when the side that you're wanting to flip is facing the right, see? And the other one is for when it's facing the left. So obviously, if it's in the correct position like this one, there's no problem. And for some reason, you'll never actually have where they're just flipped around. Like if the yellow was here and the purple was there. I don't know why, but you never get that situation. So there's just 3 ways that it can be. It can be perfect, it can be where the color you want is facing left, or the color you want is facing right. So this algorithm is really weird, but what it does is it twists once all of these 3, and it twists this front bottom. So it's the back 3 on the top and the bottom front. So here's the algorithm, and the R2 prime times 4 is for if the purple is facing to the right. Now, if the purple's facing to the left, like this one is, then you do R2 times 4 instead of R2 prime. And that's the only difference in the 2 algorithms. They're really the same thing except that one difference. And the top, you don't really need to worry about which way they're turning, and I'll show you why. So the strategy here is we're going to make one side perfect, and we're going to look at what we have on top and go from there, okay? So we have 2. So we'll start with this one. And we have these 3, so might as well, just for chance, you never know if it might actually solve on its own. We're going to orient the 3 to the back, since those are the ones that'll be twisting. Okay, and we're going to be using R2 prime times 4, since the purple, remember, is facing to the right, okay? So here we go. R2, U. R2, U. R2 prime, R2 prime, R2 prime, R2 prime, U prime, R2 prime, U prime, R2 prime. Okay, and now let's put that back where it was. So you see, it actually did fix 2 of the ones up there, but one of them was left. So obviously, when we do this again, it's going to mess up the top, but don't worry about that. We're just focusing on this bottom, okay? So here we have where the purple is facing to the left, see? And so we want this time to use R2 not prime in the algorithm, but just hold it towards U and it's facing left. So R2, U, R2, U. This time we're using R2, 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 U prime, R2 prime, U prime, R2 prime. And now we've got all of these are perfect, but the top is messed up. So you would think that you would want to try and do where these 3 are on top with something down here because there's 3 of them unsolved, but that's not how we want to do this.
Because as you saw earlier, these pieces, they aren't always facing in the same direction. And so when you do that algorithm, you might have 2 of them go away, or you might have just 1 of them go away, and that way you're just going to have a bad time trying to do it in that way. And so once you've fixed one side, no matter what you have over here, all you need to do is solve these ones. And what's going to happen is, because you're starting out with a blank slate up here, you will mess it up, but the 3 that you're changing up here will be all together. As long as you keep them in the back and twist these ones to fix them, then you will have a pair up here that are all together, and then we can work with that easier. So we're just going to do the algorithm for each of these and see what we come out with, and from there it'll be very easy. So this one, the orange is facing right, so we can go ahead and do R2U, R2U, and we're using R2 prime since it's facing the right. So R2 prime, R2 prime, R2 prime, R2 prime, and then U prime, R2 prime, U prime, R2 prime.
And so we're not going to turn the cube like this because we want to keep these together. These are like buddies right now. So we're going to turn this down here and do this one now. And see, the orange is facing left. So we're going to do the normal R2, but R2U, R2U, R2, 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 U prime, R2 prime, U prime, R2 prime. And now we have one more, and that's this one. And you see now that there's something different. These actually went back because we turned them one way, and then we turned them the other. So we only have one piece left. So all we're going to do is put it back in its place, since those are fixed, so we don't need to worry about having it over there. Just put it here, and we're just going to solve it. And it's orange facing right. And so we're going to do the R prime, okay? So R2U, R2U, R2 prime, R2 prime, R2 prime, R2 prime, R2 prime, U prime, R2 prime, U prime, R2 prime, okay? And so now we have just 3 together, and this time they're all facing the same direction. And this is very good because what this means is this is the final part of solving this. Now sometimes you'll get it luckily before this. But because we have these all in the same direction, if we do like we just did before, because they're all going to be left, see? It's going to turn these left once, twice, and the third time they'll be back in place. So if we just do this final set of 3, we'll be done, and it's guaranteed. So here we go. R2U, R2U. We're using R2 because it's facing left. R2, R. U prime, R2 prime, U prime, R2 prime. There we go. And remember, we're going to keep these up here and just turn it like this. And it's left again. So R2, U, R2, U, R2, 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 U prime, R2 prime, U prime, R2 prime. Okay? And now these have turned a second time. And the third time they're going to be correct. And we're just going to rotate this like this. And it's left for the third time. R2U, R2U, R2, 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 U prime, R2 prime, U prime, R2 prime. And now we can just line up the colors, and we're done. So that is the full solving of the Gear Cube Extreme. I know it's very difficult, but it's really rewarding. It's a very different solve, definitely different from other cubes. So please like and subscribe, and check out, I've got a lot of other Rubik's Cube videos and other kinds of videos too. So we'll see you guys next time.